We going? Oh, we are
Yep,
going.
you good.
Welcome back to the Ball Oasis show, the Ball Oasis channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many ladies watch these videos, so maybe just gentlemen. But took a little hiatus, took a little 3-4 week hiatus, as we do sometimes. But don't worry, you guys didn't miss anything. Nothing was really missed out on outside of the James Harden situation fiasco that's really escalated over the past couple of days. Uh, the way that happened too, with him basically venting to a bunch of 12-year-olds about not wanting to be in Philadelphia, that's really interesting. Jacob, I'm gonna give you the floor to start with this before we get into our point guards list today, which I'll explain as we get to that point. But Jacob, tell us what's going on in Philly because it seems a little strange.
I don't know. It's never a dull time in the off season in Philadelphia, but he wants out of Philly. He's made it known he'll do anything. We've seen that in Brooklyn and Houston, and it's been reported that he's going to do everything he can to make them uncomfortable, to make them trade him before either training camp or during training camp, which we know how to be in training camp if he comes. Have a fat suit, whatever, and not during the games, just kind of mope around, get a few points and assists, and just mope around. But
Let me ask you this real quick: fat suit Harden or phone in the pocket Ben? Who wins?
I don't know.
That's the Clash of Titans right there.
Yeah, it sucks. The Joel trade rumors because he's had to deal with this. 2 out of the last 3 off seasons, but I don't know. They're either he. I guess with him doing that, and I guess that video of him, he's kind of hurting himself. He's hurt. He's putting Philly where nobody's going to offer that much because he's making it known he wants to go one place, and then he's hurting himself. That now no him acting like this, no team's going to want to trade for him or give him a big contract. But I don't know. It was I think reported today that he wanted a max deal, so like a 4-year deal, and no team's giving that to him. But he was good in some of the playoff games and regular season. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's two hard headed guys just I guess going it out on social media.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Looks like the end is nowhere near in sight either. I think that it's something kind of like the Damian Lillard situations we're seeing up at this point. Will probably get dragged out into the regular season. Um, both
If
both of our team situations, I wish that they could be resolved before the season begins, so there can already be that foundation set of what players are actually going to be here and what the return is going to be from those trades. But it looks like that's not going to happen. It
yeah,
looks like this is going to be an ongoing thing as James Harden's wishes to go to the Clippers are not being respected as of right now. Funny situation
yeah,
from the outside looking in. But I'm sure in Philly, it's not sunny in Philadelphia right now.
I'd rather it happen before training camp than wait to the deadline because they're more than likely to wait to the deadline. But if it gets that bad and Joel starts complaining about it, um,
Time to
it was
go.
I just got a tweet that it said one of the Philadelphia reporters reported that James has desired to play a season in China eventually, but that's I
Hey,
doubt
they
that.
they love him over there.
Yeah,
They love him.
but yeah, if it comes down to Joel getting upset, yeah, they're gonna ship him off or whatever if they have to.
Yeah, it's something that I thought what happened for a while now. I've told that to you, and I might have even said it on this channel. Um, my two most likely destinations for him, the number one was always Miami,
Yeah,
with Bam Adebayo being like the centerpiece of a return. At this point, maybe that trade, that's been a trade that I've like tried to put together for like the last 2 years. Maybe that trade is like running out on time.
yeah,
Um, but you mentioned before we got on that Houston is a team who's potentially a potential landing spot if Joel wanted to ask out. But my number two, and I've expressed this to you also, is OKC.
yeah,
OKC, a team looking to, they're getting closer to win now mode. Their rebuild is pretty far along at this point. They've got young players. They've got all those picks that they can still give up. Why not? Why not go all in if you're OKC, and try to push on the timeline of the rebuild.
Yeah, I'd prefer one of those three teams because I think they could come up with the better packages. But I think I told you it'd be the next 2 to 3 years. But I think if he does leave, it'll be the end of his contract in 2027. I think that's when
that's a long way away.
So unless it just gets that bad, which it is getting there, then he'll ask out before then.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's 4 years from now. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, today we are going to go ahead and start our position rankings list of this year. Last year we did position tier lists. We're going to mix it up a little bit this year. We're going to spend a little more time focusing on only the top 10 players at each position, and kind of giving the case for why each player is in our top 10 at the spot that they're in. So today we're going to start with the point guards. We're going to have 2 honorable mentions each to start. And yeah, we'll see who the top 10 players are for each of us going into the 2023-2024 NBA season. Jacob, go ahead and give me your honorable mentions to start us out. Who you got?
Honorable mentions were Darius Garland and I'll say Jamal Murray.
Really?
Yeah.
Jamal Murray, an honorable mention after his pretty good performance in the NBA Finals, pretty good playoffs from Jamal Murray. So just an honorable mention?
Yeah, it was like I told you before we started, after the top 4 point guards, the 5 through like 12 are kind of not even, but it's kind of preference after that, especially after you get to like around the 8 to 12, it's kind of preference, but you can convince me to put him or even Darius Garland in the top 10. You can convince me to switch people around. It was just, I guess, preference.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I wanted to do rankings this year instead of tiers, because like you said, that whole like 5 to 12 group, all those guys could be in the same tier with each other. But there's a big difference from number 5 to number 12. So we're gonna see how this goes for each of us. I also have Darius Garland as an honorable mention, but I've got Jalen Brunson. Outside the top 10. He just missed the cut for me. Darius Garland did too. He had a pretty rough end to the season last year, rough playoffs. So going to take that into account a little bit, but I'm sure he'll shake back. His numbers will be nice. Jalen Brunson had his best season of his career last year. Maybe should have been an all-star. But he's going to sit right outside the top 10 for me going into this next season, partly because I don't know if he will be able to sustain that same production. We'll just have to see. Yeah, he's going to be right outside the top 10 for me. Go ahead and get into the top 10 with your number 10 guy, though, Jacob.
My number 10 is Jalen Brunson. Like you said, he has to sustain it, which I think he can, especially with him. I guess we can agree he is the number 1 option in New York behind or in front of Randall. But what he did last year, he helped lead them to the 5th seed, I think.
They were, the 5th seed.
Got him to the second, helped him get to the second round. Lost to Miami in the second, but he really, I won't say turned him around, but really improved them from the year they had last year. I guess him taking the lead guard role at leaving Dallas really helped him, and you could tell when he didn't play the huge impact he had on them. And like you said, he was an all-star level. Some could say all-NBA, but I think he could sustain it, and I think he just had a really good, I guess, breakout year, if you want to call it that, last year.
Yeah, and it was kind of unexpected by a lot of people, too. I think a lot of people were skeptical of the contract that he got, getting a 4-year, $100 million contract from the Knicks. But he played up to that money and then some with his production. His production showed that on the court, and he was very, very productive in his first season for the Knicks. I expect him to be fairly productive again, and he might be one of those guys that bids for an all-star spot again. So, yeah, Jalen Brunson, I completely understand having him at 10. My 10 guy, though, I'm going to go with Jrue Holiday. I'm going to put Jrue Holiday at my number 10. Averaged 19 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists last year. Shot 48% from the field, 38% from three on 6.5 attempts. And we know the clamper defensive menace that Jrue Holiday is on the perimeter. He's continued to be that throughout the past 4 or 5 years or so. It's going to be interesting, and I think the reason I put Jrue Holiday above Jalen Brunson is because I expect the Bucks' entire team to kind of come out hungry this next season. They severely underperformed in the playoffs, losing in 5 in the first round to Miami. Jrue Holiday did not have a great playoff series. So I think that whole Bucks team is going to come out, and I think Jrue Holiday will be a benefactor of that. I think he'll be in that All-Star conversation. Maybe his numbers aren't usually on par, even with guys like Jalen Brunson and Darius Garland. His counting stats aren't, but we know the impact that he brings, especially as we get to postseason time. He is such an impactful player on both ends. So I'm putting Jrue Holiday at my number 10.
Yeah, I kind of wish I put him as one of the honorable mentions because I kind of forgot about him when I did the list. And
he's not even an honorable mention for you?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, the guards were hard, but I could definitely take somebody off of this list and move somebody up. But yeah. So who's your number 9?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get into my number 9 also. This was tough. This was a tough one because I really like this guy. This guy is one of my favorite young players in the league. Had a great season last year, first-time All-Star. We'll go Tyrese Haliburton at my number 9. Tyrese Haliburton is my number 9 from the Indiana Pacers. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists. I'll just give stats with all my guys. I got them listed here. 49% from the field. He shot 40% from 3 on over 7 attempts. He was very close to being a 50-40-90 guy. In his first full season as an Indiana Pacer, we saw that Pacers team for a lot of the year contend for a play-in spot before kind of falling off towards the end with some injuries on that team. I think the Pacers are going to be a good team this year. I think the Pacers will be at least a play-in team this year.
Oh, yeah.
They picked up Bruce Brown, Obi Toppin the offseason. They should come into the season healthy. And Tyrese Haliburton is the guy that makes everything go for them. Super efficient. He's got the unorthodox jump shot, but it works. It works, and he shoots it from deep, too. Tyrese Haliburton was a great clutch time player last year. Had some great moments last season in the clutch. I think that he can get even better as a scorer, as like a 3-level scorer. I think he can be a better attacker of the rim. He's a great playmaker as it is. He's got the size and the frame to be a good defender as well. So sky is really the limit for Tyrese Haliburton. I expect him to continue to improve, and I expect him to be an all-star again this season.
Yeah, he was also my number 9. Like you said, all-star, really good shoot. I didn't realize how good he shot from the 3 until I went over his stats and numbers. But when like you said, they were in the playoff contention. They were top 5 seed, I know, for a good, I guess, 1/3 of the season. Then when he went out, it just completely fell off. Like they would lose 7 in a row, win 1, lose another 8. But yeah, they completely fell off. Like I think he'll be on the All-Star, and I do think he could. What do you have? He averaged 10 assists. I think he can go around 24 and 10 next year. I think his points per game, his volume can go up.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. And I think the players around him will help that Pacers team be a better defensive team. So I think we'll see his defensive game improve also.
Yeah, they have building a really nice team in the end.
I'm buying all the Tyrese Haliburton stock. Go ahead and give me your number 8, Jacob, because I'm interested to see who you put at number 8 if we have the same guy here.
Yeah, he feels low, but like you said, it's hard. I got Trae Young as my number 8.
Really? I do not have Trae Young. Here.
Yeah, it was kind of hard. I think, like I told you, the 5 through 8, you can kind of just flip-flop. But he averaged 26, 3, and 10. Kind of had a down shooting year. It didn't seem like it, but I think only shot 33% from 3. Which that whole Atlanta team was just weird to watch this year. They were basically 500 the whole year. But in the playoffs, he did win, help them win 2 games against Boston, especially game
5.
5. Yeah, where I think he scored like 16 in the or 14 in the fourth quarter, especially at the end of the game, hitting the game winner. But I don't know. I guess he just had a down year, and it might just be the Trey DeJounte fit that's kind of throwing it off. But I think he'll have a better year next year. And he he didn't make the All Star team this year, did he?
He
I
did
don't think he
not.
did. I think he could return. He could be an All Star next year, but the guards are just so deep in the East that he'll be an All Star level. But Atlanta just has to kind of look better, I guess, for him. I guess that's why I had him so low. It's just the Atlanta fit is weird right now.
Yeah. I understand. I understand having Trey Young here for 3/4 of the year. He was not good. He was not very good to his standards. To his standards, he was not good. Of course, he was still putting up the numbers. He was putting up, like you said, 26, 27 points a game. He had double digits assists. But, yeah, he was not an efficient player, and he was tops in the league in turnovers as well. He turned the ball over a bunch. And that Hawks team just really suffered whenever he suffered. And yeah, I understand having Trey Young that low. I didn't go that low with Trey Young though. At number 8, it was really tough to put this guy here. But I've got De'Aaron Fox. I've got De'Aaron Fox at number 8. 25 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists last season. Shot 51% from the field, 32% from 3 on 5 attempts. Kings, of course, with the 3 seed last season. Very much overachieving their preseason expectations. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis were the catalysts of that.
Yeah.
And De'Aaron Fox was the clutch time. He was the best player in clutch time last year. So that's really why it was tough to put him at number 8. He was an all-star. I feel like I'm slighting him by putting him this low, though. I feel like I'm slighting him.
Yes.
He had a pretty solid playoff series against the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, defensively, he's a guy who leaves some things to be desired. But De'Aaron Fox he's of that mold. He's one of the fastest players in the league. He's got long arms. You got to think that he can be a plus defender.
Yeah.
He just exerts a lot of energy on the offensive end, I guess. So he doesn't really, take the challenge on defense as much as I would like him to personally. I think with that whole Sacramento Kings team in general, it's going to be on the defensive end. And for De'Aaron Fox to rise on my list, I think it would be on the defensive end. And maybe I thought he was a very consistent 3-point shooter last year. I know it only says 32%, but he knocked down some big threes, especially in the playoffs against Golden State as well, as the season kind of came to a close. De'Aaron Fox was really solid offensively. I have no complaints with this game offensively. But I think the improvements can just come on the defensive end, and as he continues to grow and progress in his game.
Yeah, I think the defense will come, especially with Mike Brown. He's more defensive oriented, even though they had one of the worst defenses last year. But I think this year the defense will really step up this year. I feel like.
Maybe, hopefully.
Oh yeah.
I'll go ahead and give you my number 7 though, because this guy did not make your top 10. I've got Jamal Murray here. I've got Jamal Murray at number 7. And Jamal Murray is the toughest player out of this top 10 to rank.
Yeah.
Because regular season, Jamal Murray's numbers aren't going to blow you away. 20 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. Half the point guards in the league pretty much can average that. But it was in the postseason where Jamal Murray he brought it. He came to play. And it was his first season post-injury as well, so I take a lot of that into account whenever you talk about counting stats. But as he got healthier and as he got kind of acclimated back to the game, he showed that he's a top 10 point guard in my opinion. His final series was really, really good against the Miami Heat. He shot the ball really well. He was a 40% 3-point shooter throughout the entire season last year. And I think the Nuggets are still. I think the Nuggets are up there. Either the Nuggets or the Bucks are the best team in the NBA, in my opinion, going into this next season. Jamal Murray's the second best player on the Nuggets. having him at number 7, like I said, I've seen people have him as high as 4 or 5. I can't do that. I think there is a lot of recency bias attached to Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Whenever we talk about those things, like I said, I do take playoffs into account, but I'm not gonna let that put him over a top 5 guy just because he had a good 10, 15 game stretch, even though it was the highest stakes. But Jamal Murray is really, really solid. He's really solid. He's going to give you good offensive production. He's a solid defender. He just has a sound game. His mid-range game is really sweet. And if he's healthy throughout this next full season, I think we can see him be an all-star. We haven't seen him. Has he ever been an all-star? Has Jamal Murray ever been an all-star? That's crazy. So. That's crazy to think about. But yeah, I think Jamal Murray has the potential to be an all-star for the first time this next season.
Yeah, like I said, I guess coming off the injury and the recency bias, but he could definitely move up in this list for sure. My number 7, I had De'Aaron Fox. Like you said, 25, 4 and 6, clutch player of the year. During the season, he had a lot of clutch shots. More, I think total he had a lot more than anybody. I think ahead of like Jimmy Butler and I forgot who was 3, but he really helped propel that Kings team to 3 seed, which was way off of what we said last offseason. And like I said, I expect him to be an all-star again. It's just, I guess the defensive improvement is the only thing that we could hope for. But I think he'll be able to replicate this next year. I don't think the Kings as a whole replicate what they did, the 3 seed, but he could really help them propel them to a guaranteed playoff spot again.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard to believe that the Kings can, like you said, replicate that success all the way up to a 3 seed with the West being back kind of top heavy again.
Yeah.
With some of those teams at the top. But the Kings are solid. They brought back their whole entire core. So they should, barring, of course, injury or any unforeseen circumstance, they'll be back again playoff time next year for sure.
Yeah, I think they had the least injuries last year out of every team, so that really helped them a lot.
Yeah. Number 6, Jacob.
It's hard to rank this guy too. My number 6, I have Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
27, 5 and 5. Shot 49% from the field, 37 from 3. It's weird to rank him. Like you said, I think you had him as a shooting guard.
Yeah, right? he's not on my list because I put him as a shooting guard. Yeah.
So it was weird because half the year he played point guard for Brooklyn, and the other half he played shooting guard for Dallas. So it was weird to rank him. But when he's outside of like off the court things or drama with the team or whatever, we know what he can do offensively. Great playmaker, great scorer. Expecting Dallas to be better next year, especially with them having Kyrie and Luka having a full year. I don't know. It's because he don't have just bad games. Like his bad game is not. I don't know. It's not like a 2-point like a way off game. It's just I think he's one of the more consistent guards. It's just when he plays, I guess that's why it's kind of hard to rank him. But for now, he's in my top 6. You could make an argument for 5, but I lean to him putting him at 6.
Yeah. No, like you said, Kyrie is a very, very efficient player. At his height, some of the best games we've seen in Kyrie's career is he shot like 15 for 19, like 17 for 21. Yeah. So he goes out there, and these are like high degree of difficulty shots that he's taking too. He's making like every single one. Obviously, his finishing is top tier. His ball handling is top tier. I think his playmaking still has a little bit to be desired. I think that he won't, be asked to do a whole lot of that alongside Luka. Having Luka Doncic as your point guard, that's also why I didn't put Kyrie Irving on my list, because obviously Luka Doncic is on this list. But Kyrie is going to be one of the most interesting players to watch in the league next year, assuming that he comes in, ready to play from day one, which he should at this point, as far as we know. He's going to be the X factor for that Mavericks team. Yeah. He really is. So as far as they go, depends on how well he does. And him, going up there in age, he still looks pretty athletic in some of the videos we've seen this offseason. I saw a video, I'm sure you saw it too, of him throwing down some monster dunks and whatever pro-am pickup game it was. But Kyrie's one of my most interesting watches going into this next season. But like I said, he's on my shooting guard list, and I have no idea where I'm going to put him yet on that list. But yeah. At my number 6, though, I went with Ja Morant. At my number 6. 26 points last season, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, shot 47% from the field. Took a step back in his three-point shooting, was only 31% from 3 on just under 5 attempts a game. And I think that hurt him. That hurt his game last year because Ja Morant's three-point threat influences a lot of what he can do as an attacker. And we still saw last season, Ja Morant got to his spots in the paint. He's able to get to that floater, able to get to the rim like he always does, which he will regardless. But I think as a shooter, a three-point shooter and a free throw shooter, if those numbers could just continue to tick up, if his three-point shooting could get back up to like 34% this next season, and like his free throw shooting could get up like low 80s, Ja Morant could be first team All NBA. Well, I guess not since he'll miss 25 games. I completely forgot about that. But he would be a first team All NBA caliber player. Let me put it like that. If he did that, because his counting stats will remain around the same. Obviously, the Grizzlies are going to be towards the top of the West. We expect that for them. Ja Morant, though, he's tough. He's tough to rank because he has the potential to be a top 3-point guard in the league.
Yeah.
And he's still very young, still 23 years old. But the fact that he's took a little bit of a step back efficiency-wise kind of scares me a little bit, and I think that he still could get better as a defender. Obviously, he's not known for his defense whatsoever, and I think having Marcus Smart be there in the backcourt with him will definitely help him on that end. It may take even more pressure off of him where he defends even less. But I think he has a mentor. I think he could treat it as having a mentor in that backcourt to help him on the defensive end. And as gritty as the Grizzlies like to play, I think Ja Morant could benefit from that a little more. I think Ja Morant could play that way a little more than he does. But obviously, aesthetically pleasing basketball, Ja Morant is your guy. Just shooting efficiency, that's shooting efficiency and some defensive things. That's my only gripe with Ja Morant.
Yeah. I had at my number 5, I had Ja. Like I said, it was tough going between him and Kyrie, which, like I said, flip-flop anyway. But like you said, 26, 5, and 8. But I guess I do like the Marcus Smart pickup and Derrick Rose signing as mentorship for him. Because outside of, like you said, the efficiency kind of took a step back, which I guess they did rely on. I know Bane was hurt throughout, so they relied on him a little bit more. But I like they got those two guys to mentor him, because I think the off court stuff is his biggest thing. Why people down on him and he misses games, but I hope he can improve his defense, which I know he can, especially with, like you said, Marcus Smart being there. But he could definitely make his way into the top 3 easily next year. Just kind of got to see him take a step up back in efficiency and defense.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And my number 5, I've got Trae Young. All the way up here at number 5, which seems a little high.
Like you said,
a little high.
I feel like I shorted him, but yeah.
Well, I feel like I went a little too high on him, but I'm gonna keep him here at number 5. Like you said, 26 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists, was 43% from the field, about 33% from 3, on a little over 6 attempts. Yeah, for a lot of last season, Trae Young was underwhelming to me.
Yeah.
And if I were to rank him just based off of his first 3 quarters of the season, he might be like my 9 or 10, honestly. He might be teetering like honorable mention territory just based off last season. But he closed out the season well. His playoff series against the Celtics definitely helped him some in that regard. That Game 5 gave us a signature moment for the season for Trae Young. He's a guy whose numbers will always, his counting test will always sit around the same territory. He'll always be between 25, 30 points. He'll always be between like 9, 11 assists. It's his efficiency. His efficiency and turnover, like assist to turnover ratio, will be what determines if Trae Young has a good season. Obviously, Trae Young is not going to play defense. We know Trae Young is not going to play defense. So he has to make up for that in the efficiency department. And last season, I don't think he did a great job of that for a lot of the season. But towards the end, we saw him get better. Clutch time last year, Trae Young was not a great clutch time player up until like the Celtics series. We know Trae Young is a guy who can deliver in big moments. And I think that's part of the reason why I have him as high as I do on my list, because we've seen him, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he is the best player on that Atlanta Hawks team. It'll be interesting to see how he plays without John Collins on his lineup his second season, alongside DeJounte Murray. Clint Capella, I guess, will still be there. There are rumors of him getting moved this offseason, but he's still there. So that pick and roll is still a thing. I think efficiency is the name of the game for Trae Young. Same as Ja Morant, really. It's the exact same almost as Ja Morant. But I guess we've just seen Trae Young in a few more high leverage moments up to this point. And even with Trae Young's struggles last season, I still think that going into this next season that he's a top 5 point guard in the league. I do.
Yeah, like you said, 5 through whatever it's hard, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we'll have the exact same top 4. I think we'll have the exact same top 4.
Yeah, I think 1 and 2 is you don't have to make an argument for, but the 3 and 4 I could see a difference, but yeah, I think we got the same.
Yeah, go ahead and start with number 4 then.
My number 4, I have SGA. Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I didn't realize this I think we've been high on him before coming into the year, but I don't think we saw that he would have this type of year.
Mm-hmm.
He averaged 31, 5 and 5, shot 51%, 34 from 3. He averaged 31 points on not even averaging 1 3-pointer made per game.
Insane.
I went back and looked, like I refreshed the page and looked to make sure he gets to his spots. He's probably one of, if not the best guard to get to the paint and get to his spots in the paint. I watched the podcast. I forgot where it was, but they talked about his percentage on like floaters and just shots in the paint, and it was up there with like Jokic, basically centers in the paint, like his shot percentage in the paint. Carried that Oklahoma team. Play-in, could have been in the playoffs, was very close. I expect him to take another leap. I don't know, his points, scoring volume might go down, especially with Chet coming back, Chet actually playing this year. But he could lead them. He could lead them to a playoff spot. I think they could be a top 6 seed next year. They could be the Kings.
Wow.
They could be, because there's some teams that are gonna have question marks. I think they're a play-in lot, but
okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if they got to the 6, maybe 7 behind SGA. But I think he was also one of the only guards to average 1 steal and 1 block, maybe the only. But his two-way ability was just amazing last year.
Yeah, number 4, I've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as well. It's just so crazy to think about. Every single day, the Paul George trade looks worse and worse and worse for the Clippers. Yeah. They gave up so much in that trade to get Paul George. They gave up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and like 7 picks, which is insane to think about, because at this point, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a better player than Paul George, and the Clippers have still not even gotten past the Western Conference Finals. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's crazy to think that he's like shoots as efficiently as he does from 3, albeit on 2.5 attempts a game. But he shoots league average from 3.
Yeah.
if those attempts could like go up, if he could shoot 4 3-point attempts this season, and assuming that he still gets to the paint, like you said, like he has in the last couple of seasons, he's a guy that could average 33, 34 points a game. His scoring could continue to go up. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a volume jump shot away from being the most complete player in the NBA, which is insane to think about. He's not the quickest player. He doesn't play a very quick game. You know, he's very floater dependent. He gets to the free throw line. You know, he finishes a lot at the rim. He's not going to wow you with his game with any, he's not going to play super aesthetically pleasing basketball. He kind of reminds me of Jokic in the way that he just, you know, gets to his spots and picks apart the defense. And obviously they have two different playing styles, but it's kind of reminiscent of that in my opinion. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, very, very fun watch last season. I'll be tuned into the Thunder a lot. You said 6 or 7 seed. I don't think I can go that high. I think they'll be around where they were last year.
Realistically, there's going to be a few teams ahead of them that have injuries. More likely than not. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They could get to that 6 to 8 range.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, first team All NBA season. If you told me that he'd be first team All NBA 2-3 years ago, I would have called you crazy. I would have called you insane. Insane numbers from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And like you said, he's a player that even if his numbers stay around the same, he's a player that will continue to get better. Love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Love his game.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and start at number 3 because this is my favorite player, and I assume you have him at number 3 as well. Yep. Damian Lillard's at number 3. Had his best statistical season last year, counting stats-wise, averaged 32 points a game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 46% from the field, 37% from 3 on over 11 attempts from 3. So he was chucking that thing whenever he was on the court. It's a shame. It's really, really a shame that Damian Lillard's best season kind of got subdued with the Blazers being bad and you know, the potential of him leaving this offseason. Like nobody's talking about how good Damian Lillard was last season. He was great. And of course, I voted for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for first team All NBA, so I wasn't upset when he got it over Dame. But Dame was really good, and he's a guy that people saying, oh, he's getting up in age. You know, he's 32, 33 years old at this point. The way that he plays, he'll be able to keep doing this for at least the next 5-6 years. I'm not saying he'll put up the same numbers. He won't put up 32 points per game, you know, throughout that entire stretch. And depending on what team he plays for, will definitely play a factor in that as well. But he's a guy who's going to shoot from 3. He's going to be that 3-point threat. And over the past 3 seasons, nobody has drawn more double teams than Damian Lillard. Nobody has drawn more double teams. He's constantly having to play out of a trap. He has mastered playing out of a trap at this point. If his teammates were a little more competent, he would look even better. He would have more than 7 assists. It's ridiculous that he only averages 7 assists, with his potential assists being up around 11. Insane to think about. But Damian Lillard, easily a top 3-point guard, going into this next season. No matter what team he plays for, he's there.
Yeah, he was my number 3 too. Like you said, when he dealt with injuries this past year, you kind of see what happened to Portland. But like you said, the way he plays, he could. I guess age is the biggest concern, and maybe the injury history the last few years. But
over the last 2 years, yeah. Before that, he'd been like Mikal Bridges almost.
Yeah, so I think, he could do this for another few years, especially the scoring might drop off a little bit, but how he plays, he definitely can last. And wherever he is, I expect him to be another top guard. I doubt it's Portland, but it more than likely will be.
Yeah. I'm gearing up for it. I'm getting ready for it, you know. All right, number 2. I have Luka Doncic at number 2. Do you have Luka at number 2?
Yep.
All right. Luka Doncic at number 2. Statistically, he's the best player in the NBA. Counting stats-wise, 32 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Nobody's topping that. Nobody's topping that. It was 50% from the field, 34% from three, about league average on 8.5 attempts. It's still kind of insane to me how the Mavericks fell apart last season. And I don't put that on Luka. There were some games, in that stretch where they lost however many games they did in February and March, where he was not efficient, and he is prone to turnovers, and we know his defensive struggles. But as long as Luka Doncic is on the floor, you've got a sure top 5 player in the league.
Yeah.
You've got a top 5 player in the league on the floor, who's only 24 years old, who's continuing to get better as a shooter, who's continuing to crash the glass more. Nobody controls the game outside of Nikola Jokic like Luka Doncic does. There's not much I can really even say about him because everything, his numbers, his game, it just speaks for itself. And it's a shame that we didn't get to see him again in the playoffs last year. But I expect that Mavericks team to be back in the playoffs this season. You got to think so, right?
Yeah.
That didn't seem too confident.
I don't know. I'll have to look at all the teams, but they should miss the play-in. I'll say that they shouldn't miss the play-in.
No, not at all.
So, because they did get a lot better. That without that roster, without Luka last year before Kyrie, it was horrible. But we'll see. Yeah, I expect them. Like I said, I expect them to make playoffs, but we'll see.
Yeah, Luka's great. The past 2 seasons going into him, he's been my MVP pick going into the last 2 seasons. He probably won't be going into this year, but he'll be top. He might be top 3. Yeah. I think the Mavericks are a top 6 team in the West. I'm just saying. They should be. They should be.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to run through the teams. Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could.
I think so.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah.
So much went wrong for them last year. So much went wrong for them.
Yeah.
Anyways, number 1, Steph Curry. Stephen Curry is number 1 at like 35, 36 years old. 29 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Was a 50, 40, 90 guy basically last year. He fell 1 point short of it from the field. He shot 49%. But he shot 43% on 11.5 attempts from 3. Like, that's unreal. That's unreal stuff. And he offensively, he's still as good as he was 5 years ago. And defensively, he's one of the most underrated players in the league. Defensively, he crashes the glass better than almost any point guard in the league outside of Luka Doncic and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
So Steph Curry, unanimous number 1, even at his old age. I'm so interested to see how long he can keep this up. So interested to see how long he is spearheading that Warriors team. And he has Chris Paul. He has Chris Paul with him this year. So that's going to be an interesting point guard duo in Golden State.
You bring Chris Paul off the bench?
Yeah, you are. You can't start both of them. Chris Paul is a defensive liability at this point. And as underrated as Steph is on defense, with as much energy as he exerts on the offensive end, he's going to be placed on a guy who isn't like a top dog on a team.
Yeah.
He's more of like a help defender than like an on-ball defender. His defensive, like his best defensive attributes come from help defense. In the form of like deflections and just like a secondary help. That's the top 10 for point guards, though. I'll say no real surprises. I wasn't surprised with your list too much, Jacob. Outside of Jamal Murray not being in the top 10 at all, that was a little shocking. That was a little shocking, I will say.
We've talked about it the last few weeks with like different rankings and people talking about it that he was being overrated with the recency bias, but like I said, you can convince me to put him in the top 10, but I don't know. He'll definitely be in it this year, likely.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Do you think I'll say, do you think our list could look a lot different next year, or it'd be about the same? Like any more surprise guards jumping in 10 or somebody?
Scoot Henderson top 5. Go ahead. I'll go ahead and put that in the air right now. Scoot Henderson top 5. No, he won't be top 5, but No, I think a lot of the point guards on this list are like below the age of like 27, outside of like Steph and Dame, and you had Kyrie on yours.
Yeah.
So I expect a lot of those same guys to still be there.
Yeah, like you said, unless. Yeah. Yeah, what's that? Tyrese Halliburton could probably move up. I don't
I
know.
can see it. Yeah. Before we close the episode today, though, there's a game that's become kind of popular. We're gonna play it here at the end of the episode. It's called Hoop Grids. It's basically where you have a grid, you have a 3x3 grid, and you have to insert a player who applies to each of the categories for the grid. So me and Jacob are going to play here today. I've got it pulled up here beside me, Jacob. I'll go ahead. I'll give you the first square. We'll alternate squares. First square is a player from the Pacers and the Knicks. Give me a player from the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks who has played for each of them.
I don't want to use the most obvious one.
And this doesn't the grid, it doesn't account for this upcoming season. Like, they already have to have played for both of them.
Okay, that makes it easy. That makes it harder.
So you can't use Obi Toppin.
Yeah, I was trying not to use him. The Knicks and the Pacers.
Knicks, Pacers.
I don't know if he played for the Pacers.
This is a tougher one. Indiana Pacers, like, lore and like going back 15 years, it's tough.
Is this the grid that you only get 9 guesses?
No, there's infinite on this one. I'm talking about the immaculate grid.
Okay. Yeah, the Pacers is tough.
Or maybe I think we should do that one instead, actually, as you mentioned it.
Really?
I'll go to the other grid. So we just have 9 guesses. So we have to go 9 for 9. I already did that one today, though. But I can let you do it.
So if you had to, you could use different players.
We can do it together. Okay. So the first square on this one is Lakers and Boston. This should be pretty easy.
Lakers and Boston?
Yeah.
See, when I do these, I try not to use the obvious players. So if I take too long, you're more than welcome to.
This is your square. This is your square for your player. We have to go 9 for 9 on this one too. We have to.
Yeah. Makes it tougher. I don't want to go blank.
I went 9 for 9 earlier. Just saying.
Yeah.
This is like the easiest one. Boston and the Lakers.
I know. I'm going blank. I know one for sure. I'll use Rajon Rondo. I'll use him.
Rajon Rondo. That's who I used earlier too for this square. Rajon Rondo. 43% of people said Rajon Rondo.
I tried to think of one different, but I couldn't think of it.
Okay, Phoenix and Boston is the next one for me. And earlier I said Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was who I used for this one. But I'm not going to use Isaiah Thomas this time. Instead, I am going to use Aaron Baines. Aaron Baines. This is sure to 4%. 4% from Aaron Baines is pretty good. Pretty good. Next square is the Celtics. Any player in Celtics history who's averaged 5+ assists in a season.
That's
got a lot of options here.
There's a lot of them. I'm gonna try to get the lowest. And we've already used Rondo, so can't use him again.
No Rondo.
You used Isaiah Thomas.
No, I didn't use Isaiah Thomas. I used Aaron Baines instead.
Oh, okay. I'll go Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas. I gotta make sure I do the right Isaiah Thomas. 7%. Pretty good. 7%. Next square for me is the Toronto Raptors and the Los Angeles Lakers. There are a couple players who immediately come to mind. Earlier, I used Danny Green. I used Danny Green here in this square. I think this time, though, I'm going to use. I think I'll go a little bit of a cop out here. I'm gonna go with Marc Gasol. I'm gonna go with Marc Gasol in this square. Marc Gasol, 33%. Yeah, a lot of people said Marc Gasol. Next square, a little bit of a tougher one. Toronto Raptors, Phoenix Suns. Toronto and Phoenix. Might have to think about this one for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who I used for this one.
Say.
I used Aaron Baines for this one earlier. I'm trying to think of another player too right now.
Toronto and Phoenix.
Toronto, Raptor, Phoenix, Sun combination.
I could use a journeyman, but I don't know if that even would be right.
Are you sure that he's played for both of them?
I don't know. Played for half the league almost.
We got to go 9 for 9, or our credibility is like stripped.
Yeah.
Sun, Raptor. Maybe I should have went Jay Crowder in the second one, so we can use Aaron Baines for this one.
Can you think of anybody?
I'm struggling too. I think I might have one, but I don't know for sure if he has played for the Phoenix Suns. But I know he's played for the Raptors. And I'm going back 11 years for this one. I have Grievous Vasquez in mind.
Okay.
Old point guard. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it.
Oh.
I'm thinking about those Lowry DeRozan era teams also.
I'm trying to go for those.
You had Lowry and DeRozan, who obviously didn't. I know DeMar Carroll played on those teams. I don't think he played for the Suns.
I don't think.
Let's see. Bismack Biyombo. Bismack Biyombo fits. Good pull. Now I gotta spell Biyombo. Okay. Bismack Biyombo, 10%. Pretty good.
I forgot he played for Toronto.
Yeah. That took pretty long, but it's a good pull. All right, I've got the easy one right here. I've got Raptors 5+ assists. I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna use Fred VanVleet. I'm just gonna be easy and use Fred VanVleet. I think he averaged 5 assists. I hope he averaged 5 assists. Let's see.
Did you use Kyle earlier?
I have not used Kyle Lowry yet. Fred VanVleet, 18%.
Okay.
All right, last 3 squares. On this one, you've got the Lakers and the Pacers. A Laker-Pacer square. I used wait, I'll wait to see if you say him.
Who did you use?
I used Meta World Peace for our test.
Okay, I was gonna use Lance Stevenson.
Okay. Yeah, on the summary of it, Lance Stevenson was the most used one for this square.
Oh, that sucks.
And he is 29%.
All right, that sucks.
Okay, this was the one I had the most trouble on earlier. Was the Indiana Pacers Phoenix Suns square. This one is hard, and I had to use an extreme pull for it earlier. I used Chase Budinger from 10 years ago. And he was a 0.4. He was a 0.4 on the square. I'm gonna think for a second to see if I can think of anybody else, but if not, I'm using Chase Budinger again, just so we go 9 for 9.
I might have a player, but I'm not 100%
sure. Who is it?
Did Elfrid Payton pay for Indiana?
Elfrid Payton. I don't ever remember him on Indiana. I thought about TJ McConnell too earlier, but I'm pretty sure he's never played for Phoenix.
I don't think so.
Other players, I tried to think about those Paul George, Indiana Pacer teams, and Victor Oladipo Pacer teams. I couldn't think of anybody. Oh, there is one. I'll see if you say it.
Darren Collison.
That's not who I was thinking of. I don't know if he's played for the Suns.
Who are you thinking of?
TJ Warren. TJ Warren's played for both of them.
Yeah.
TJ Warren. I'm pretty sure he'll probably have a pretty high percentage. Yeah, 37% for TJ Warren. Last square, easy 9 for 9, Jacob. Indiana Pacers 5+ assists. Who are we rolling with?
We could once guys, but easy. I don't want to use Tyrese. Who was?
Imagine you say somebody and it's wrong.
Yeah, I'll just use Tyrese.
Okay. That would be embarrassing. Tyrese Halliburton, 24%. Not a great rarity score of 204, but we go 9 for 9. Mark Jackson was the most used in that score, actually, 25%. It's a fun game to play every day. And the other version is you get like unlimited guesses, but on that one you try to get like the lowest rarity score. You gotta sit and think about some of these players. You gotta call back to your former knowledge for some of these players. A fun game though. Point guard tier list in this episode. Next episode will be shooting guard tier list. Maybe we do this again at next episode. Maybe it's something that we continue to do at the end of episodes. We'll see. We'll see if y'all want to put any input about that. Y'all can. Jacob, you got anything to say before we close this episode today?
That's it.
That's it. Good episode today, and hopefully we'll see y'all next week with the shooting guards. Hopefully we'll get back on schedule. Yeah. All right. Sign off for now. See y'all later.
Yeah.
Peace out.